Welcome aboard.
Hey, Phil, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, it's the reason why I'm running. We're spending our kids' futures into oblivion, and the country is, I think, is in jeopardy because if we have a financial collapse, I mean, who knows what America looks like on the other side of that? And that's what's kept me awake at night for a lot of years, and it's what drove me to get into politics.
Well, I like the idea that you're a businessman because I think the biggest problem that we have in Washington, these dopes that are surrounding Obama, they have no business background. They're not entrepreneurs. They've always sucked off the government, and they have no clue what it is to meet a payroll. It's kind of like a CEO that comes out of a Fortune 500 company. He fails when he goes to run a small company because as CEO of General Motors, or he always can pick up the phone and spend $100,000 on marketing and $200,000 on this and that. But when he runs his own little company, you got to scrimp, you got to save, sometimes you don't even take a pay. Sometimes like times like we're in now, I have a lot of friends that are in business. They're not even taking a pay so they can take that money and pay one of their employees. I mean, I think that's a big problem. We just don't have businessmen in there.
It's funny. This morning I saw a video. I guess they did it yesterday with Ms. Pelosi, where she said, "Oh, if I wasn't in politics, I would probably be in business. I love the markets. I've been following them since I'm a teenager. I'd be a business person."
Well, here's what she said. John, I have the cut for you. Here's what she said.
If I were not in politics, I'd probably be in the business community. No, I love the markets. I've watched them since I was a teenager. I'm fascinated by it, and it's a force. It's a force in our economy.
It's a force. It's a force. This woman wouldn't know. Pelosi wouldn't know a market if she tripped over it. My God. Let me ask you, do you think right now that things have changed? That you think that, I mean, my God, I give you credit. You're going to run against Pelosi in one of the most left-wing liberal cities on the face of the earth. Do you think that maybe the timing is right now? Because maybe even the liberals, who, I mean, they've got brains, they got to look and say, man, her spending is reckless. She has, I mean, what really would get me if I was a liberal and I was living there, I said, wait a minute, what did she do? She mandated that that when you get this new health care bill, if I don't get health care, I can get arrested. I mean, even if I was in San Francisco, I'd say, wait a minute, Pelosi did what? I mean, that's like spitting on the flag and our liberties. So do you think they're getting tired of her? There's an opening here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of votes to win. I mean, we have to go out and win them, and that's the challenge. That's one of the reasons why I do radio shows and TV all over the place, is so that people will support the campaign. I think the votes are winnable. We know they are, actually. Her numbers are very soft. I'll give you some inside information. We just started releasing this. We did a poll back in July. Those numbers showed that this is only with independents and Democrats, that only 55% would vote for Nancy Pelosi, 33% would absolutely not vote for her, and 12% were unsure. So what that means is that her baseline of support within independents and Democrats is only 55%. And if we win those other 45% plus the Republicans and other votes, we're going to defeat Nancy Pelosi. The challenge is there. The votes are there to win. We have to go win them, and it just takes time and some money to get to make that happen.
Do you think her unpopularity? I mean, she's not very popular in the Hill. Do you think that's resonating back to California?
Yeah, it's funny you ask me that. They asked me that the other day on Fox News. Yes, absolutely. And I think people are also, one of the arguments has always been, she's the Speaker of the House and she'll help us more. Mm-hmm. Well, here's a new choice that San Franciscans are going to have to face. The Democrats are going to lose the House. Nancy Pelosi will not only no longer be the Speaker, but it's likely that she's not even going to be the leader. They're going to choose new leadership within the Democratic Party. Who do they want representing them? Who's going to have more political capital, the former polarizing, marginalized former Speaker of the House, or the guy who pulled off the biggest upset in political history? So that's a decision that the San Francisco voters are also going to have to weigh in on, when they cast their ballots.
All right, let's talk about some issues. The health care bill, repealing it. What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, of course, I've signed on to repeal it. It's a disaster. We need to make this country more competitive, not less competitive. So from a manufacturing and a production point of view, it's a nightmare. From an individual liberty point of view, it's a nightmare. I mean, who are these people to tell us what we should do, how we should buy insurance? And it's a constitutional crisis. So that's where I think ultimately, by the way, I think it's going to get resolved in the courts. I think it'll go to the Supreme Court, and I cannot imagine even the 9 lawyers that are paid for by the government are going to side with the government in this context, because there's no reason that they can find, I can't imagine, that would say that we have to buy something that the government mandates that we buy.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Financial Reform Act, they left Fannie and Freddie out of that act, which to me is just ridiculous. And what are your thoughts on that? Are you going to try to get that brought back in, get it reformed? Because that is the problem. That's the problem.
Well,
and
they
left it out there.
It's another 2,000-plus page bill. We don't know. There's a problem with Washington is that they see the scene, they see what they are going to do. They don't see the unseen. They don't see what the unintended consequences of what they do. And can you imagine what the unintended consequences are going to be from a bill that nobody read that was 2,000 pages long? But for me, the bigger part is the fact that they not only did they not touch the Federal Reserve, but they left they give the Federal Reserve more power.
Exactly.
That's the problem. We wanted to audit that Federal Reserve. 3/4 of the House signed on to get that audit done. 80% of the American people are behind it, and they effectively put the kibosh on it for the moment. This sort of tell you what the real problem is.
Yeah,
the Federal Reserve, our financial system has put us in this mess, and we've got to change it, or else we're going to stay in it forever.
Yeah, and also we have 77 million people, seniors are ready to retire, and the one thing I also found that they would not include in their bill is with mutual funds. They hide so many fees in these 401ks, these fees. It's terrible. I see it every day. These people are getting killed with all these hidden fees. And they tried, I think it was John, I forget his name, but they tried to get, Congressman Miller tried to get into the Financial Reform Act that from now on, hey, no more hiding these fees, because these people steal 1% a year from these folks. And at the end of their working for a company 25 years, 30 years, they're ready to retire. They retire with just half the amount of money. And I was hoping that, what's your views on that?
Well, I think the whole financial system in many ways it's just a wealth redistribution game. You see all this wealth being moved from hardworking people over to the financial system. I mean, look what's happened since the 90s. We had the internet bubble, which was hawked and pitched by the financial system, which is supposedly regulated by the federal government. Taking robbing people's 401ks. Then the equity next bubble was the housing bubble, where people's equity in their in their homes was filched. So yeah, I mean this is it seems like there's this pattern, right, where the financial system says, oh, there's money here, we can use that, and they figure out a scheme to get it out of us. It's clear that we need reform, but we don't need the kinds of reforms that they want to give us. We need to get the government out of the money business, frankly. We need a separation of money and state as much as possible.
We're talking to John Dennis. He is running as Republican from California, and he's running against Pelosi, which is going to be an interesting race. If you were president today, all of a sudden something happened, and they called you and said, hey, you are president, John, what would you do to turn this economy around?
Let's make me dictator. How's that?
Very good answer.
That makes things a little easier.
Yeah.
As much as I'm against the dictatorship. Okay, so here's what I would do. First thing I would do is I'd start slashing federal spending. Everything goes on the table. Everything. So the only exceptions I would say would be short-term entitlements. You can't touch those. But you've got to get federal spending under control and send a message loud and clear that we're serious about our budget to the people who finance us. So we've got to do that. Second thing we need to do is start cutting taxes, cut income taxes by a third. abolish the capital gains tax so that we get the capital that we desperately need in order to start growing our way out of the economy. Cut corporate income taxes to make them competitive, if not give us an advantage around the world. And then start getting the government out of regulating businesses so that they make it easy for new ideas that are going to create jobs and create companies. They can come to the forefront and and start growing us again. The truth is that we have this enormous anvil tied around us right now. We've got all sorts of debt, not just from housing, but housing included, and that overhang is going to be with us for a while. Now, we could be a 98-pound weakling economy, or maybe we can be an Olympic decathlete, a kind of economy that's dragging that anvil with us. But that's what I think we need to do. Cut federal spending, get a grip on the debt situation, cut taxes, get government out of the economy, and let the great American people do their thing.
Yeah, and that's exactly just like, and again, like I said in the beginning, instead of trying to restart this economy, they should have, instead of reignite it, wasting their time, they should have taken the money and started a new economy with the folks on Main Street, but they didn't do it. Listen, we got about 10 seconds left here, 15 seconds left. Why don't you go ahead and tell the folks why they should vote for you, and I'll let you take the floor here.
If there's one concession speech, that you want to see on the night of November 2nd, wouldn't it be Nancy Pelosi's? So if you want to see Nancy Pelosi concede the race on the night of November 2nd, go to johndennis2010.com and contribute whatever you can.
John, very good. Let's get you on again. We're going to help you, support you all we can. Thank you for coming on Phil's Gang.
Thanks, Phil.
You're listening to Phil's Gang on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. We'll have more in just minutes.